members of the gallery and our viewers live streaming this meeting. My name is Councillor Lena Messina and I'm the Mayor of Darebin City Council and the chairperson of today's hearing of submissions meeting. It is my pleasure to welcome you all and I declare this meeting open at 4:01 p.m. Item number 1, welcome. Darebin City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Wurrung people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and waters we now call Darebin, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Council recognises and pays tribute to the diverse culture, resilience and heritage of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We acknowledge the leadership of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and the right to self-determination in the spirit of mutual understanding and respect. The health and safety and well-being of the community has and will always be the paramount consideration of this council. Council continues to be guided by the government directives and wants to be able to do the right thing for the health of our community during the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting will be open to the public in line with current health restrictions. Masks are mandatory and the number of people in the public gallery will be restricted. This meeting is being live streamed via a link on the council website so the public will be able to view the proceedings of the meeting. The meeting has also been recorded and will be available on the council website as soon as practical after the meeting. Before we begin tonight, I want to set out my expectations in relation to the behaviour and the language we use and remind councillors of our obligations under the Code of Conduct. Item number 1, membership. I will introduce the councillors in attendance this evening because we are short a few councillors. Councillor Greco, the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Tim Lawrence. Councillor Suzanne Newton. Councillor Suzanne Rennie. And Councillor Susan Rennie, beg your pardon. And Councillor Julie Williams. Item number 2, apologies. We have apologies listed as Councillor Hannan, Councillor McCarthy and Councillor Demetriadis. Item number 3, councillors, disclosures of conflict of interest. Are there any interests or conflicts of interest to declare, councillors? No? Item number 4, confirmation of previous meetings. I think we've already adopted those at the last council meeting. Can I just confirm that? We don't need to do that. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of reports. Councillors, we now move into consideration of reports. The Hearing of Submissions Committee is a delegated committee of council established for the sole purpose of exercising council's powers, functions and duties related to the hearing of submissions received in accordance with Section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989. Today, we are hearing submissions on 2 property matters. Mr Matthew Gould, our Senior Property Services Officer, will introduce each item and there'll be an opportunity to ask Mr Gould questions. We have 2 persons wishing to be heard on each item. Normally, submitters in the committee have 2 minutes to speak in support of their submissions. However, as the Chair, I've decided to extend this. In this instance, I've decided to allow each submitter 5 minutes if they require it. There will also be an opportunity after each submitted speaks for councillors to ask questions. Before I ask Mr Gould to introduce the first item, I remind councillors that today is simply about hearing of submissions committee, listening to the submitters, and no decision on either matter will be made today. Our council officers will represent a report on both these matters on April the 26th council meeting. Herein we will make a formal recommendation to councils for us to consider. Councillors, item number 5.1 is next on the agenda. Proposed discontinuance of right-of-way adjoining the rear of 1 to 11 Marylands Road, 4 to 10 Hughes Parade and 12 Asquith Street Reservoir. I invite Mr Gould to introduce the items.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councillors. This is regarding a proposed road discontinuance of a right-of-way bound by Maryland Street, Asquith Street and Hughes Parade in Reservoir. In particular, we're looking at a parcel of land located at the rear of 4 Hughes Parade, which is shown here. which is currently enclosed within the backyard of number 4 Hughes Parade and has been for a considerable amount of time. And today we're going to hear the submissions from the 2 adjoining properties at 1 Marylands Road and 3 Marylands Road.
Are there any questions to Mr Gould by councillors? There are none. We have 2 submitters for this item. I invite Mr Sang Man King to the lectern. Thank you. Mr Sang Man King, you have 5 minutes if you need it.
Good afternoon. Every single time, since I bought the property in 2017, every single time that the council has sent me a letter asking whether I wanted to buy a part of a property of a lane at the back of a laneway, if it were to be divided, I always said yes. I think it's about 3 times. The only thing is, by now, things have changed and I have sold the property recently. And I have a new owner, the future new owner who's here, Joe Caldwell, who's also of the same idea of me, that we still need a fair go and equality and have a chance to at least be proposed to buy this piece of land at the back. And we have been proposed, and every single time we have said yes. And now the latest letter in September was asking us whether we agreed for that parcel of land to be sold completely to number 4, which we didn't have any say into it until we wrote a letter saying that we wanted to be heard. This is why we're here today. And if you permit me, please, I'll pass on the microphone to the future owner, Caldwell.
I now invite, yes, I'm assuming you're Anthony Capola?
No, sorry, I'm the future owner.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm the future owner.
Okay, so you're part of the 5, yeah, would you, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you please just state your name, the purpose of the
Joe
meeting?
Caldwell. Yeah, just further to the last statement, yeah, all I'm interested in is equitable outcome and just, yeah, having the opportunity to come to an agreement with 4 Hughes Parade over that adjacent alleyway.
Okay, so it is for 4 Hughes Parade, I just want to correct, just to
Pardon me, sorry?
4 Hughes Parade, number 4? Thank you.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, nothing further from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, either gentleman's? No, Councillor Greco, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. It's just if we can get some more information from our officers, just on the basis of what we've heard from the prior owner and the new owner, in regards to council advising them in relation to whether they, now that they've been told that the land has been offered to somebody else. So could we get some more information in relation to what's taken place there?
Sure.
Yes, so recently I believe letters were sent out by council's lawyers, Macquarie local government lawyers. The purpose obviously for today's meeting is to navigate through this. No strict agreement has been entered into regarding the sale of the land, that's my understanding. Obviously further correspondence will have to happen in the near future.
Just as a supplementary, I suppose I was seeking clarification from what we heard from and I'm just taking it on their on face value, that the previous owner was originally informed by council about whether they wanted to purchase the land. They've always said yes. And then what we heard was that now that they've received a letter saying that now they've been told if they agree that the land to be sold to number 4. So I was just trying to understand what the process was and what took place, and just to verify what the owner and the previous owner and the current owner are saying.
Yes. So under current policy, preference is fair and equitable division of land. However, in this case, number 4 Hughes Parade actually was planning on making an application for adverse possession. That owner has since agreed to abandon that proposal in lieu of buying the land legitimately from council. However, we still need to discuss the possibility of fair and equitable division between 3 property owners. So there's still yet a lot of work to do in this space.
Can I have a question? Is the acquisition finally, is the contract of sale settled on that acquisition of 4 Hughes Parade? So are we in that transition period, or has been a transfer of the asset?
There's been no transfer.
No. This is a residential property, not in the laneway itself. I'm talking about the owner-occupied premises or the land that Mr. Sang has sold. Has that actually finalised?
Settlement.
Okay, so settlement is 2 weeks. Thank you. Councillors, are there any further questions? Thank you very much for your submission. I now invite Mr. Anthony Coppola to the lectern. Sorry, earlier on tonight, I actually did suggest that we need to wear masks in the gallery. Can I ask officers to ensure that that is complied with? I did make a statement earlier. Can we please distribute masks if the attendees do not have masks in the gallery, please? Unless you're speaking on the lectern, we don't, yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr.
I'd like to thank...
Mr. Coppola, thank you very much. You have 5 minutes. Thank you, should you wish to take that.
I'd like to thank the council for letting me speak today. I'm in a little bit different situation. I've been in my property since 2004, and this has been going on since 2015. So I don't really want to harp on, but every time I've been asked, I've accepted the fact that I'd like to buy it. I've said to council that I would like to purchase it. There was no land behind me because it's obviously been taken. So I just wanted to just say that I do want to buy the property. I just want to be given the same opportunity that all the rest of my neighbours have been given in purchasing the land. And that's really all I wanted to say on this matter. I just wanted to ensure that my voice was heard to say that I do want to buy that piece of land. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think Arabin should just let someone who's just occupied the land keep it. So that's all I wanted to say on it, Bob.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions to Mr. Anthony Coppola? Thank you, Mr. Coppola. Councillors, I now seek a mover and a seconder of the officer's recommendation. Moved by Councillor Rennie, seconded by Councillor Greco. All those in favour? It is carried. I'm assuming you're moving the officer's recommendation?
Yes, that we accept those submissions.
Great, thank you. Councillors, now we move over to item 5.2, proposed road declaration rear of 137 to 143 Station Street, 100 to 104 Arthur Street and adjoining to Duncan Street, Fairfield. Mr. Gould, would you like to introduce the item?
Yes, certainly. So today we're looking at the road bound by Station Street, Arthur Street and Duncan Street, and the use of that road to the rear of 104 Arthur Street in Fairfield. We have access requirements for 104 Arthur Street, with parking at the back of the property for 3 vehicles for practitioners of this property. I believe we also have the owners of the road here as well, or one coming in online to make their submission as well.
Are there any questions to Mr. Gould, councillors? We have 2 submitters. Oh, Councillor Hannan, I'm sorry.
I just hesitated. Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if it's a question for our team or for the submitters themselves, but I'll ask you first if I may, and then otherwise we can ask the submitters. But I'm unclear what if any disadvantage there would be to the owners of the property in Station Street by allowing or making sure that there was access provided to the property in Arthur. Has that been provided to you, or I mean, I can ask the submitters as well?
Yeah, so that's obviously subject for debate. The road is shown as a road on title. It's in the private ownership of the property owners at 143 Station Street. However, the properties fronting Arthur Street actually don't have right of carriage over that road on their titles.
Thank you. We have two submitters for these items. I now invite Ms Jane Sharp, who's a representative of the owners of 143 Station Street, to the meeting virtually. Our audio staff will have the connection to Ms Sharp and will be projected on screen. Ms Sharp will be able to see and hear councillors. We're ready to introduce Ms Sharp if she's available.
Zena, can you hear me?
We can't see you. Just one moment, please. Just a few technical difficulties, Ms Sharp. Just one moment, councillors. Modern technology can be great, but it does have a few drawbacks. Welcome, Stephen. Welcome. Do you want me to go, Mr. Ryan? Yeah. Yeah, just one moment. Just. I'm happy to listen to the other submitter in the meantime. I'm happy to listen to the other submitter in the meantime until we get that. She's ready. Okay.
See if she can hear you.
Yeah. Ms Sharp, can you hear us? Or can you hear me? Can you turn on your camera, please?
My camera is on.
Okay. Just one moment. Apologies for the delay, Ms Sharp.
Can you see me now?
Yes, we have action. Thank you. Welcome, Ms Sharp, and thank you for this opportunities to meet remotely. Ms Sharp, you have 5 minutes, should you require it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm getting a little echo, so what I'll do is turn down my sound. You'll still be able to hear me, but I won't be able to hear myself. And then if there are questions, I'll adjust, I guess.
Okay.
Can I confirm that you can hear me? Look, thank you very much for providing me with the opportunity to address the council. I act on behalf of the Ananarthis family. My name's Jane Sharp and I'm a barrister and I was a town planner. I've been provided with the agenda for this meeting and I ask that the council also review, obviously there's the agenda, but also review the letter that was sent in by my clients, prepared by Eugenia Mitrakis, dated the 15th of June 2020, and there was a submission dated the 16th of November 2020. In fact, I think it was dated 2019, but it should have been 2020. So I ask that the council to give serious considerations to those matters, and I won't go over them in detail. But attached to that information, the letter and the submission, were a series of titles and photographs which identify that the land is privately owned. It's not currently open for public access, and there are signs at the entrance and in the land that show that it's not open for public access. It's primarily used now for the purpose of access and for storage and for the supermarket at 143 Station Street. And the properties at 139 through to 141A enjoy easement rights over the land. The land at 100 to 106 Arthur Street don't have and never have enjoyed easement or access rights to the land. Now, the land itself is vital to the ongoing operation of the supermarket and is actively and legally used for this purpose. I hope the councillors have had an opportunity to look at photos and indeed do a site inspection. But you can see from those photos that it's currently used. There are cars parked there, there are bins, there are sheds, there are containers, and all of that has been used for the purpose of the Station Street properties for, best to my knowledge, over 40 years. It's not public land. And I make a couple of points here. Firstly, it's not dissimilar to many private rights-of-ways around Melbourne that support commercial shops that face the main road. What that allows, of course, is that the secondary uses for commercial shops, such as storage, such as access, can be done outside, and the interior space, the more valuable space that actually services customers, is used efficiently. It is in contrast, or this land is in contrast to other public rights-of-ways that lie behind commercial strip shops, where there is public parking access or general public deliveries are located, and often they sort of go through from one street to another street. And I'd ask on a site inspection, the council note that it's not a large space, it's got a narrow entrance, clearly got plenty of structures there. There are signs up saying that it's not a public space, and also there are signs saying, for example, that forklifts are being used. It's an area where cars reverse and manoeuvre around in the space. And whilst it's effectively managed between the properties that enjoy legal access to the space, it's not a space that's kept clear for public access and for unfamiliar users of the space, and that's very important. The impact of declaring half the accessway open to the public will be devastating to the way the owners use the space and will dramatically affect their business operations. It will basically require them to change the way that they use the space for storage, for the bins, for access. And it's not simply, and I think perhaps this goes to a question that was asked previously, this is not simply a case of letting another property gain access to space that's already used by other people. So there is, I make these points and hopefully this comes across in the written submissions as well, that there's a difference between easement rights and a road that's open to the general public. Easement rights obviously are particular to properties. Open to the general public means anybody. The width of the road proposed to be declared is land that is currently used by the supermarket. As you'd see in some of the supermarkets, and the site inspection will show there's actually a container located over that land. The width of the land, or the road that's proposed to be declared, extends all the way down the land. So it's not just at the entrance where you would normally expect it to be kept available or open. It's right in the land, so it requires the whole length of land to be set aside for public access. And it also brings in potentially another 3 cars in an area that I'd say is already reasonably
10
tight.
seconds.
Another 3 cars who may or may not be able to easily access the car spaces at 104 Arthur Street. Now, I also note that even if the council were to resolve to declare that strip of land for public access, it actually then starts to
That's time,
curtail
Ms. Sharp.
the abutting land adjacent to that access
Sorry, I'll have to
point,
stop
because
the submission, Ms.
access
Sharp.
to the sheds, to the bins, to the containers, quite difficult, particularly if it's a
I don't think
public
she can
road,
hear me. I think we'll need to close the submission. Thank you very much, Ms. Sharp.
on the
So we're going
efficient
into overtime.
way
Can we
that
please-
land has been used for over 40 years.
Can we please
And
cut
it's
the
not
audio
right
because we're
way.
going far into time, please, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Sorry that she can't. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. Technical difficulties, don't you love them? Thank you very much. Are there any questions to Ms Sharp? And I don't know how we're going to address those questions. Councillors, are there any questions that we might have to submit to Ms Sharp, perhaps out of this chamber? No? Okay. Okay. Now, I'd like to invite Mr George Ryan to the lectern, a representative of the owner of 104 Arthur Street, Fairfield. Good evening, Mr Ryan, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Just one moment. We're going to wait for the officers to reset the clock. Thank you. You have 5 minutes should you need them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillors, for allowing me to speak. I'm a planning and property lawyer with a lot of experience with taking cases like this to VCAT, and I've been asked to advise the owners of 104 Arthur Street on their rights in this particular matter. We didn't know about the particular objections of the owners of the supermarket that we've now heard. However, I can point out to you that there are major errors in what she has told you tonight. The land is privately owned in that sense that there's a certificate of title, but that title has been extinguished by the Local Government Act. In the submission that I've put to the council, that's explained, and the case that the Supreme Court case which sets that out is referred to there for you. This land became a road in 1975. It's marked clearly as R1 on the plan of subdivision from that era. And yes, it could have possibly been retained as a private right-of-way as has been explained to you, but in fact, it hasn't been. Its access to Duncan Street is by a piece of land that is now on the council road register. It's only the little bit going up to the very top of the photograph there that we're really talking about tonight that's not now part of the road register. That bit, of course, is the bit that goes past 102 and 104 Arthur Street. The council has clearly accepted all this land to be a roadway, and without going through the evidence of many people that have been using that roadway, the council itself has actually granted a planning permit to the owners of 104 Arthur Street to change the use of that property to a psychology clinic, and part of that permit application required 3 off-street car parking spots, and they are at the rear of 104 Arthur Street. It's too hard for you to show you the photograph of the endorsed plans, but there's 3 car parking spots at the back of 104 Arthur Street that have to be accessed from that laneway. That is, the fact, the council's decision to grant such a permit with access from the laneway to the back of 104. Council in writing has in 2015 confirmed that it's a right-of-way which that access was available. The council cannot deny that it accepted that that is now a roadway. It can't go back on that decision. Once we've got a road, we've always got a road. My clients have spent $300,000 on renovation setting up the psychology practice in furtherance of the planning permit that they have obtained from council. You can't go back now. The car parking spots are needed, as council rightly said at the time of granting the permit, that there had to be off-street car parking for the practitioners. The signs that were referred to are ambiguous. They are actually at Duncan Street. They are actually signs on a piece of road that is on the council road register. It can only be advice about further up the laneway, perhaps indicating that people who want access to the Cardamone or what other names of the shops are in Station Street, this is a way to get there. Really, it possibly needs the also information that it's also access to 104 Arthur Street added to it. The proposed width of the proposed road declaration is only 4.19 metres. This still allows potential for the owners of the rest of R1 land to discuss with the council what's the best way of managing that land and for them to do storage, etc. there. We're only talking about the wafer of land on the right-hand side of that photograph, which is going to be part of the road declaration, councillors. So I would recommend that you accept the recommendations already before you and declare that that is in fact the road all the way from Duncan Street to the top of that photograph.
It's 10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your submissions. Councillor, and now, do we have any questions to Mr Ryan? Councillors. Councillor Hannan.
Thank you, Mayor. Forgive me, I'm a new first-term councillor, so I wasn't a part of wasn't aware of that decision at the previous council. But my question is about accessing the rear of 104 Arthur Street from Arthur Street. Is there a driveway, or is there no other way of accessing those car parks at the back?
No, there's no practical way of accessing those car parks except via the roller door and off the right-of-way that we're talking about, the road. And clearly, actually, I should point out that there was no trouble, in fact, setting up the roller door, in fact, doing the renovations on the building to turn it into a psychology practice. Difficulties have only arisen in the last 18 months with shipping containers and cars being permanently parked up that top end of that. So before then, there was the access available and it was utilised to actually do the renovations. And there's a roller door that was put in place without any difficulty at all. Councillors can go and look at that roller door there.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Hannan?
No, thank you.
Councillors, are there any further questions? As there are none, may I please, I seek a mover and a seconder of the officer's recommendation. Moved by Councillor Rennie, seconded by Councillor Lawrence. All those in favour? That has been accepted. Thank you. Thank you to the submitters this evening. Thank you to the councillors and officers and everybody listening live stream. I now declare the meeting closed at 4:33 p.m. Thank you.